5.
Yeah, with your luck, will come in 5th.
Exactly.
So what's up, Vin?
Not us. Look, we're all a shopping cart away from being homeless. You can't go to a Walgreens without fantasizing about a prescription. You're throwing bad checks around like it's confetti at a parade.
That's me, Brian Burkhart, a guy who tried to be a stand-up comedian but never got very far with it. Although there was that one gig I did while I was in federal prison, they loved me. You can say it was a captive audience.
And you, my friend, couldn't pick a winner if the results were already in. And the limping Jew, we don't know half the shit that's wrong with him because he can't catch up to a conversation. And my gambling screwed my credit up so bad that my co-signer needs a co-signer. Well, things are about to change.
And that's Vinnie Favorito. He's a genuine comedian, one you might even heard of. And what you're watching here, it's actually bullshit.
I just did a year in this frickin' theater.
You make it sound like a prison sentence.
Yeah, you should know.
Well, what's the answer, bro?
Well, that, my friends, is just around the corner. Follow me.
Okay. Everyone you see here is real, all right? But Vinny's saying lines I wrote for him. You're watching what they call a sizzle reel, a scene we staged to try and sell a reality show about ourselves. A bunch of gambling degenerates looking for a second chance. But this? Now this is real.
We all make mistakes. God knows I've made mine. I know you've made yours. I got stuff on you. I got stuff on you that should be in this documentary, but it's not.
Okay. As you can probably tell, Vinny and I go way back. In fact, I've been filming him for years. This was in 2005, when he was at the top of his game.
I don't want to be the guy in this film where they see him, walking down the street past the dumpster or anything where he busted out. I'm not that guy. I'm still in the plus because I have an actual job. I don't play poker for a living. I play poker for the nicer things in life.
This is a roast. You want fucking ratings? I'm gonna give you fucking ratings. I mean, really, Gordy Brown, seriously, we're friends a long time, and every time I see you, I miss fucking Danny Gans something horrible. Horrible. My God.
Back then, Vinny was sort of famous. He wasn't a household name, but he carved out a great career in Las Vegas, right in the middle of the Strip. But flash forward 10 years, Vinny did bust out, lost everything. And by everything, I'm talking about more than $1 million of other people's money. Everyone from TV actors to Las Vegas entertainers to the ordinary people who came to his show.
What's your name, man? You are tough to look at. Wow. Doesn't it suck when you look like you have Down syndrome and you don't?
Vinny wasn't the type of comic who delivers scripted material from memory. He's an insult comic. He based his act on working the crowd. He could remember your name and what you did for a living. And then he used those same skills off stage.
Vinny was a con man. Vinny is a con man.
After the show, when he's trying to sell merch, he remembers who the doctor was. Those are the guys he'd say, hey, let's go downstairs, grab a drink.
How about the white kid behind you holding your wallet? What's your name?
Safe to say, Vinny and Las Vegas were kind of perfect for each other.
I've been around it all. I'm in the entertainer's world. There's all kinds of habits and addictions in this world. But anybody in a casino cannot say whether they're in a poker room or they're out on the floor playing the other games. It's all about action. And every one of us are degenerates. That's the bottom line.
When I interviewed Rickles years ago, he said, my act plays to the sharp guys. It plays to the wise guy crowd, the casino crowd, the players, the gamblers. And I think Vinny was a modern day version of that.
Thought I told you to wait in the car. After you see how funny I am, I'll have my way with you, bitch. Trust me.
This is like Shecky Green and the Riviera Lounge. He was tying into this thing about when you go to Vegas, you're seeing something you can't see somewhere else.
Yeah, I've never seen so many black people lined up side by side without going, it was number 5. Oh, buckle up, neighborhood, it's happening.
He transitions from comic to friend very quickly. And then right after that, you transition to his banker.
I cut Vinnie off at the $75,000 mark.
I think Vinnie is genius.
Why do I no one else in the room for an extra? Because you look like that ugly crayon color that nobody ever wanted to use.
I think he played poker to get new people.
All Vinnie wanted to do, get a new victim every night, every show.
Where you from originally? New York? Yeah, Yankees fan? Yeah, how's that fucking treating you?
Vinnie is the best weasel I've ever met in my entire life. And I say that affectionately.
Vinnie is the best bullshitter there is.
Hey, Mr. Jenner, nice to meet you. You're probably wondering what that was. That was laughter.
With Vinnie, sometimes you don't know if he's addicted to gambling or just borrowing money. It's like, what comes first?
Easy, Mexicans, easy. We give you the 5th of May. That's where it ends for you fuckers, all right? No, I like the Mexicans, Robert. I tease you, my friend. Where you from, LA or Texas?
If you were a mark, you were getting hit up. It becomes a sickness.
One day, I'm gonna go to every poker room, and I'm gonna get 3,000 and 2,000 and 5,000. Then I'm gonna go on that trip that I've planned for a long time and never come back. So it's gonna happen.
We're live right off of the fabulous Las Vegas Boulevard South. And I am very excited to have a very funny, caustic comedian on my show today. Everybody knows Vinnie Favorito.
Yes.
Which brings to mind, and a question I have is when you were younger, now are you an only child or do you, you're
No.
Italian? So you
No,
must
there were
siblings?
14 of us. And no,
Seriously?
14 of us. My mother was a
Catholic.
Can you say slut? I don't know.
He was born in Jamaica Plains, which supposedly is a poor section of Boston.
As a community, it's tearing them apart.
I went to school during busing, when busing started in Boston. It looked like a prison from the outside, you know, and it really was.
Those are older buildings.
Yeah, of
and
course. It's
brick
inner
and-
city
yeah.
Boston. Thank God I had, you know, big cousins and big friends growing up. But still, a lot of times, you know, you'd be going through all these neighborhoods to get home. It's like the old movie, The Warriors. But I was small, so I'd have to talk my way through. And that's really how I got out of a lot of things. My dad was a hardworking man, and he was in the Navy. I was in the Navy, and he worked for the government as an informant. And no, I'm kidding. He worked for the government. My mom laughed at everything. I mean, she always wanted me to do this. She's the reason why I got in the business, actually, and it was cheaper than going to college, I suppose. My mother saw this actual course in Cambridge, learn how to get over stage fright and do stand-up comedy, be taught by a local headliner, $60.
Right.
And my mom saw it, and she goes, you should do this. And my dad goes, you know what? We'll support you. You should do it. Boston has the best comics you've ever seen in your life. Guys you'll never see in your life, but they're that good. And I came up through the ranks and caught up to these guys in the headliner status where there were lines of guys like me trying to get in and break through. And there were certain groups of us, like Nick DiPaolo, myself, Jackie Flynn. We all broke out together, and we made it through, and we're all out here working, doing this business. And but we had guys back home like Don Gabb, the most hysterical guy I've ever seen, Kenny Rogers, and who comes to Vegas once in a while. And these are Boston guys that are just so hysterical.
I had a loan from my bank. Now, in the room, if there are any banking people in the banking industry, I don't mean to offend you directly or indirectly, but go fuck yourself. I had a loan, yeah.
You know, grew up there, did first 10 years of my comedy in Boston and moved to LA in 98. I just moved out to California from Boston. I don't really fit in California. I'm a comic. I sleep all day. Yesterday, I had to get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to do a radio show. I looked out my window, and people were running.
The San Francisco Stand-Up Comedy Competition is a very prestigious event. They were telling us that there was talent scouts in the audience, and a lot of guys that won it or came in second or third, they've all gone on to some very, very big things, you know. My first impression of Vinnie is very clear. He was a pro. He was funny, and he took us out for slices of pizza one time after the show.
It's built up to actually a great show. Bang, 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 bang. And then there's one not such a bang. And then bang.
Yeah, I think you've got 5 comedians with really varying styles, and I think that's a big part of the show, is that we all have our own thing that we do. And
What do you
well, I'm more of a physical type comedian. And
As you got to the finals, 5 were chosen. Scott Silverman, gay comedian. James P. Connolly. Then there was Ralphie May, who was really a kid. Of course, Vinnie Favorito.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Mickey Joseph.
Pull you over for drunk driving, they give you a sobriety test. The first thing they ask you to do, of course, is say the alphabet. Make sure you say it, don't sing it. You know, a lot of people go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. H, I, J, K, X, Y, Z.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Mr. Vinnie Favorito.
I myself, I am Italian. I like being Italian, but people say stupid things to you when you're Italian. Like, I'll tell them my name, Vinny. They're always like, yeah, you look like a Vinny. Well, you look like a how's that? What the hell's a Vinny supposed to look like? I get this one all the time. Hey, Vinny, what's bada boom, bada bing really mean? Well, that's the noise you make while you're in the trunk. Bada boom, bada bing. Bada boom, bada bing. I get this one the other day. You're Italian, huh? Your people, they're pretty tight. My people. Like I belong to an Indian tribe or something. Can you picture me on the horizon in my Seville with my squaw, Roseanne, and my firstborn, little running numbers?
The winner of the 23rd San Francisco International Stand-Up Comedy Competition, and he gets the crown, Vinnie Favorito.
Where I got to know you first was through your reputation as a roast comic, where you can just say the most outrageous things about people in front of their face and they laugh. We don't have this culture at all in Britain.
Vinnie Favorito, man, bring him up here.
Well, I guess there'll be no surprises now, huh? Jesus, all this show's missing is Russell Simmons. Holy shit. It is good to be. We should have just done this one at Roscoe's. What are you shitting me? I've never seen so many weaves in the Friars Club in my life. Don't get mad at me. You laughed at the black bitch. You're gonna laugh at me. Charles Barkley, riveting. What are you shitting me? I love how we threw in at the end the little, book plug. Yeah, we're gonna be buying your fucking book. It's all these big names, and I'm sitting there and they're taking pictures of people saying I'm literally trying to lean in just to get in the picture because nobody knew who I was. This was the first one, and the roast started. I go up, no one knew who I was, and I destroyed it. I got a standing O at the roast, and everybody's like, now all the cameras are on me, they're taking pictures of me, now I'm like this. And Bud Freeman was walking around like a proud peacock. Told you, because I actually stole the show. And that was it. From then on, every roast on the West Coast, they'd call me. I did Eris Foundation year after year after year with Arnold Schwarzenegger, all these guys. I mean, just over and over again. So that's really how it happened. LA was really good for me. Bud Freeman was like a dad to me. Milton Berle, who gave me the nickname Rickles, was Venom. I mean, Red Bud, still, I worked for all these people, in front of them, and then roasted a lot of them. I mean, I had a ball then. Right.
LA may have been as great as Vinny says it was until the day it wasn't. This was the era when just about every stand-up comic got a shot at a sitcom. Vinny filmed a pilot episode, but it was a dumpster fire that never saw the light of day. And if there was money coming in, it was going right out again. Vinny ended up filing for bankruptcy and leaving town. And where does any entertainer go for a second chance?
I remember when he came to Vegas. It was hysterical. I literally laughed till I got stitches in my stomach about your sense of humor. And I do have to say, it was for anybody over 18.
Vinny and I both came to Las Vegas to start over. When I was living in Puerto Rico, I got way too fine at shooting craps for my own good. But I decided to try my luck on the other side of the table, as a dealer. I broke in at the El Cortez. In the early 2000s, it was still equal parts of menthol and broken dreams.
It's almost like walking into a combination of a homeless shelter and a VA hospital. You know what I mean? Because you got the crazy war stories, and you got the broke people who's had everything at once in their life, but that's the life of a poker player, and I guess that's what makes it exciting. You know, one day you're a millionaire, and the next day you're hanging out in front of Jack in the Box with illegal aliens, hoping someone drops a French fry. You know what I mean?
I have a gambling problem. I gambled. I cost myself friends. I cost myself jobs. I cost myself all kinds of things. But I'm funny.
How you doing? Love the dreads. Love Jim Predator. Relax, white people. There's more of us. It's always such a diverse crowd. The Mexicans, the black. Who's got a warrant?
And then when I moved to the West Coast, Bud Friedman discovered me, and I started doing the Improv, and I was the #1 ticket seller at the Improv. Always packed, always jammed. So, of course, when you hear about this one guy that comes into town, people would funnel to the Matt King show, and Bill Volkner, who's my producer, also produces that show, kept hearing about this guy, Vinnie Favorite. He didn't know who I was. Keith Downey saw me and this and that, and that's when they approached me and said, you know what, we'd like to offer your own show.
It's funny because the history of Vegas, which I'm kind of a student of, because I read everything about the Rat Pack and everything about the history of Vegas, and I was always obsessed with mob lore since I was a kid and saw The Godfather. And Vegas and the mob, you know, were intertwined. I mean, the whole history, going back to Bugsy Siegel. So I think from back then, once I had entertainers, I always had comics playing there. You know, that was a different generation from me, obviously, but, you know, the guys, Rickles and Hackett, and Shecky Green and Jerry Lewis, and oh my God, on and on and on. Sammy Shore, opening for Elvis. And Sinatra always used comedians. So they've always been there. And my generation of comics came along, and there were guys that made it big enough to play the big rooms. When I first went to Vegas, shut your phone off. Unprofessional douchebag. Leave that in. I shut my phone off, you scumbag. Shut your phone off. I want that left in.
The thing about Vinnie is he really taps into an old Las Vegas tradition. Obviously, his act itself goes back to Don Rickles.
The greatest thing I can say to Governor Reagan or Regan, whatever they call, what do they call you, Governor? The greatest moment I remember in your career was when you said to Pat O'Brien, the Gipper is dying. And I got an uncle that thought it was a fish.
Are you from England? All right, I got this. Maybe I know, but I'm just a comic trying to make shit funny. Why don't you put a cape on and fly around the fucking room? Shut up, bitch. I'm not the guy you want to piss off, trust me. I'll ruin your little field trip. I'll say shit to you he's been wanting to say for 3 fucking years. They say Milton Berle, God rest his soul, gave me the nickname Rickles with Venom. Okay? But I want Rickles to pass the torch to me. I want to be the new Rickles. I want to be in this town because Caesars Entertainment wanted me to be the edgiest show in town. I think they got that.
I used to go out and sit on the side of the audience and watch the audience rock, you know, like this, back and forth. Their heads would be going in and like that. And that's how I could tell a comedian was really good. When you would see that wave of people, you know, bouncing around in their seats. And Vinnie was one of those comedians.
The crowd loved it because they thought every show was unique.
It's the shock value. Everyone is attracted to the shock value. And he recalls, he's got a good memory, so he recalls what someone told him at the beginning of the show, and then he will factor that in towards the middle of the show and get a routine going out of it.
And then we bring them all back and forth, tie them in, I call back to them, and you think it's over, but it's not, and it's just, and I'm known because my memory's like scary.
Because you remember all these names.
That's what I meant by memory.
Yeah.
Vinnie's specialty was he went around to the room in his showroom and picked on everyone in the room and remembered everyone's name and what they did.
And I have what most people don't have, the most repeat business in the city because the show's different every night. So people come, you know, and they come over. The lady came out tonight, 23rd time, you know what I mean?
The thing you have to understand about Vegas, it's always been a big mecca for comedy. Now, music Vegas was a joke for a while. It was a place where has-beens went to die. It was the elephant's graveyard. Comedians were always current to their day. George Carlin played here. Richard Pryor played here. Even now, Dave Chappelle plays here. Kevin Hart does a Kevin Hart weekend at the Cosmopolitan. Now, most of your comedy in Vegas, you have what we call comedy clubs, even though they're rooms inside casinos. They're not actual clubs like they are in other cities, but it's what we call the brick wall format. Now with Vinnie, he had turned the corner. He was actually selling a ticket. And so in a way it was impressive because the only other people that were here, you had definitely heard of. You had definitely heard of Carrot Top, George Wallace, Rita Rudner, but then Vinnie Favorito, well, wow, he must be good. He's a headliner. The first place they go is downtown on Fremont Street to the Horseshoe.
I first met Vinnie there on Fremont Street. He was at the bottom of his barrel too, but his barrel had a built-in ladder. He had a show.
We started downtown. They had just bought Binion's, Harris did. They bought it and sold it like an hour later. But the deal in the selling it was they had to manage it for 1 year. So I went down to Binion's. I was the first headliner and last headliner ever in Binion's property because Benny Binion didn't believe in entertainment in the casino. We were bringing 200 people a night from the Strip downtown, which was really unheard of. And then after that year, I had a choice between sharing the Paris with the hypnotist over there, Anthony Cools.
I know Anthony,
or go to this place, O'Shea's, where the deal was better. It was 80-20, 80 my way. And I'm like, O'Shea's, absolutely. Not knowing that it wasn't a hotel, it was just a little casino with a facade upstairs.
Now, if you've never heard of O'Shea's, there's probably a good reason for that. It was very hard to find. It was this little dinky casino that was attached onto the Flamingo. But again, Bill and Vinnie were there at just the right time.
People were coming out to see him at O'Shea's, and it wasn't that big a theater.
I was doing another week at the Improv. The manager, he said, come on, I'll take you down to say hello to Vinnie. We went down through some doorways and through hallways and down into the basement where the pipes are and everything, you know, we're walking through there. And all of a sudden we come up in O'Shea's and I learned that, man, all these casinos are connected to each other underground. He brought me into the showroom, into the back of the room, and Vinnie saw us come in and he said, look, Mickey Joseph is here. You know, and he was happy to see me. Hey, Mickey, how are you? Right in the middle of his show, you know.
I'm going to the Flamingo. I am going to be opening at the Flamingo this Friday, so that is...
When they moved into Bugsy's Cabaret on the main floor, that was another case of being in the right place at the right time. The Second City Comedy Troupe had tried for years to make it, just couldn't dig in long term, and the room was up for grabs. Roseanne Barr wanted the room, other people wanted the room, but Bill had Vinnie perform to Harrah's employees at an employee event, and from there, the big brass at Harrah's said, this is our guy.
There was some big names up for the room, and Don Marandino said Vinnie Favorito's getting it.
This thing caught on because it was a 220-seat room. It was the perfect size. Vinnie could make eye contact with everybody in the room. In a big showroom, his act might not have worked as well.
I think most comics do well in small venues. You know, I was never lucky enough or old enough to go to the Copa room at the Sands, which I know was a small room where the Rat Pack played. You know, it was a small, intimate room. And Vinnie's room, as I recall, probably wasn't much bigger.
The Flamingo, it's Center Strip. You've got the people the old school Vegas, the young people want to say, this is where Bugsy Siegel's thing was. You know, there's still that flair there.
This goes back to old Vegas, man. This is like Shecky Green and the Riviera Lounge. He was tying into this thing about when you go to Vegas, you're seeing something you can't see somewhere else.
You can put 1 million billboards of any show in this town. Nobody gets the advertisement like I do from word of mouth.
The reason why you go to a Vinnie Favorito show is every show is different. He picked on every single race, every minority. It did not matter. It was break balls comedy, stuff that I'm used to back home with my friends.
If you were any kind of an ethnic group or you were a law enforcement officer, he would be on you pretty much for the majority of his show.
And it was hilarious, no question.
Everyone laughs at those shows. I took my wife, Ivy League grad wife, to go see Vinnie. She peed her pants. She couldn't take it. It was so good.
In my whole life, the comedy stage is my sanctuary.
it's where I forgot everything. I'm a smoker, and when I'm on stage, I don't even crave a cigarette. That's how much the stage, to me, is my life, is my world. When I'm on stage, I forget everything, I block everything out. And to do the style of comedy I do, my memory and talking to the audience, with all that was on my mind, it's amazing that I could pull it off. And I got better and better in my comedy. It's like I didn't want to get off the stage, you know?
Believe me, it's not easy to tell this story, okay? Because I was raped. And if you get raped, you don't fucking want anybody to know. Not your friends, not your enemies, nobody. I got some dear friends there, man. I was on stage with these guys every night, and we became brothers. And believe me, they're gonna fucking shit when they see this fucking movie. None of them know about any of this.
Vinnie and me hit it off. We both like comedy and gambling. Vinnie was mentoring lots of comics. He was even gracious enough to let me do 5 minutes to open his show when my parents were in town. But I was no different from the cocktail waitresses and dealers who would punch out from a shift and sit down at a slot machine or a table to give back all their tips. I would go straight from dealing dice in one casino to a poker room in another.
I'm playing No Limit Hold'em, and the guy who went bust in our game comes back the next day and comes over and he goes, hey, listen, I'm tapped. Can you lend me $50? I said, no, I don't even know you. Yeah, you do. I played with you. Oh, yeah, well, that's right. You played with me. But actually, he got me back in that game. He got me back a few $1,000s. I was stuck. So I said, all right, I'll give you $50. I lent him the 50, never planning to see it again. He's back 10 minutes later. Can you lend me another 50? I go, what do you ship me? What'd you do with it? He goes, I lost it in the video machine. I go, what are you playing video machine? Get yourself something to eat. Then he comes back, swear to God, 2 hours later, he says, I got an idea. I said, what's that? He says, give me $60. I'll get in the 4A game. And he says, and I'll build it up, we'll split it. I go, split it? You can't even beat a machine by yourself. I'm gonna give you $60 after I give you $50, but you're gonna be my partner in the game. I cleaned your clock in this game. Why would I put you in the game? I'll put myself in the game. But you know what? They have such great stories. I give him the fucking $60, you know? And of course he went tap and he goes back and he goes, I need more money for the partnership. And I go, the partnership's over, my friends. It's done. I mean, they have such balls. They got balls like you wouldn't believe.
My name is Bill Krakenberger, Advantage Gambler and also Advantage Sports Bettor.
My name is Chris Moon. I've been in Vegas for just about 5 years.
My name is Laura Lee Mainford. I've lived in Las Vegas for 30 years, and I'm a cocktail waitress.
My name is Tiger Patel, and I trade commodity futures for a living.
My name is Bob DeRico. I moved to Las Vegas in September of 1982. For 20 years, I owned Sunset Collision here in Henderson, Nevada.
I first met Vinnie Favorino when he moved in the house across the street from where I live.
There was a show called The Rat Pack is Back. It came to San Francisco. But lo and behold, I get a call that they're looking for a replacement for Sandy in the show because his wife was getting ready to have a baby in Las Vegas. This is my chance to become a bona fide stage actor, which is what I'm trained for, you know, from the academy and everything else. So Sandy's looking at both of us, and he looks at me and he says, Mickey, what about hair, right? And I opened the candy box like this, and I took my dad's toupee, 50 years old, right? And I popped it on top of my head, and Sandy looks at me, he looks at the other actor, and he says, we're gonna start with Mickey. And so that's the way I got the gig.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man, you busy?
A young quarterback, 25 and under, is 0 for 25.
What?
Against Belichick.
Well, damn, because I really like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
You know, Patrick Mahomes is my guy. Not a pro. I'm a Joe. 5 years ago, I had a real job. I worked as a government contractor in D.C., and I just got burned out. My thoughts at work were, when is my next trip? When am I going to be playing poker again? And it just snowballed.
I told my mother I'm going to Vegas, and she said, well, I knew you were eventually going to do it. I just thought you would wait until I was gone.
I'm what they call a low budget or a low stakes grinder. It's the 1-2 no limit poker game. Here in Vegas, if you can average $100 profit a day over a month, you can live like a king. When I first arrived here in Vegas, I met Vinnie Favorito, who I thought was a good guy. We all loved him over at the Mirage. He lightened the mood on the poker games. The game went very well. We all were having a good time, making money. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I saw an opportunity to, hang out with a celebrity. I met Donnie and Marie. I got a picture with Marie. It's kind of a big deal. It's like having a selfie.
Well, I started doing comedy out here, and then, about 6 months into comedy, somehow I ran into Vinny at a show, and I was like, wow, this guy's great. And he, so then he once he found out I was a runner, I think his brain started working. So then he would offer me guest sets, which were a big deal. I'd get to come down to O'Shea's and do time.
I actually am a rare person. I lived in the Golden Nugget for 3 years at the top of the Golden Nugget. And I used to come down and see Vinny all the time. He was in the poker room.
I worked in the showroom for Second City, for the burlesque show, and for Vinny.
I was introduced to him by one of the executive casino hosts, and she used to work at Flamingo.
I didn't know whether he was a comedian or what profession. He did come over within a few days and introduced himself, and seemed like a pleasant guy right at that time. Everything seemed nice.
I met Vincent by going to his shows. I met him at a meet and greet after one of his shows. Both our names end in vowels. We kind of got together, and him being of Italian heritage and from back east, we had some kind of camaraderie, so to speak.
Sammy Shore, legendary comedian, calls me up and he says, come on, do this benefit. It's for dogs. And lo and behold, who's there? Vinnie Favorito. Vinnie treats me like a god, He's introducing me to Lance Burton and all these heavy hitters that are in there doing this benefit in the green room. So about a week later, Vinnie invites me to meet him at Dunkin' Donuts, and we're talking, and eventually he asked me to borrow $5,000. I thought, he's a friend, he's a good guy. He's on the strip, I mean, his picture is this fucking big, And there's no way he's not gonna give me my $5,000 back. So he talks me into loaning him this money. And the Wells Fargo, I said, my bank is way down the other side of town. And he goes, oh, no, Wells Fargo is right here. There happened to be a Wells Fargo bank right next door to this Dunkin' Donuts on Eastern. And so I go in there with him, and honestly, the people in that bank seemed to recognize him. I don't know if it was from the poster on the strip, the billboards. I was kind of, in a weird way, impressed with that.
I know on any given night I could walk into the poker room and I could come up with a few thousand if I needed it. They're all cash guys. They've all been there. You know what I mean?
After his show, he said, hey, Chris, I left my wallet on the dresser. Can you buy me in to the poker game tonight, and I'll pay you back tomorrow? I said, okay.
And he knew that I was a 7-star, so he just asked me if I could loan him $5,000 for 3-4 days, and he'll pay me back. And I saw him before, and he had a show on the strip, so I said, okay, no problem.
The following week, I actually went over to the show and I waited for him. And I asked him, where's my money? And he does pay me back. So I said, okay, that's fine. He asked me for the money to buy a DVD machine, basically to print all of his shows. And he said he'd give me 20% markup on whatever I gave him. It seemed like a good deal to me again.
He met us after his show at the Flamingo this time, and he asked myself and my wife if we would loan him $10,000 because he wanted to buy some new recording equipment to make CDs of the show.
And he explained to me that he needed money to buy merchandise. He wanted to make sure he had plenty of it. And after listening to him and hearing his story, why, I felt, okay, I'll give it a try. So I loaned him $20,000 to begin with.
But he promised to pay me back in 2 weeks, and my wife kind of grilled him. And within the 2 weeks, he did pay me the $10,000 back.
3 weeks later, he paid me back $5,000 plus, you know, he gave me $300 extra.
And within the time frame that he had stated in the note, he paid me back. In fact, he invited me over there to have dinner one day, and we ate outside, and he handed me the whole amount of money, and he says, welcome to the team. And I said, well, thank you. I said, I'm glad things are working out all right.
I think he paid maybe $600, and that was the hook, because I made a quick $100 for nothing.
It was the night when the first time he asked me for $1,000, and I was like, yeah, I'll go meet you. And my best friend was with me at the time, and he was like, hey, man, it's none of my business, but you barely know this dude. So how many people do you think he went through before he got to you would ask you? And I was like, and as we were driving, I thought about it. I was supposed to meet him at like a PT's on the east side of town. And on that drive, something told me, like, don't give him this money. So then I just didn't. And I didn't want to call him because I didn't want to like disappoint him, or I don't know. My way of handling it was bad. Instead of calling him and saying I'm not coming, I think I just blew him off.
My wife and myself would invite him over for several holidays, and he became kind of like family, where there's nothing that you wouldn't do. You'd help a family member if they needed help, and that's what we were doing with Vinnie.
After I went to a few different shows, and I always seen Vinnie at the poker table, Vinnie came to me with a story about him and his wife are adopting a child for the first time. She couldn't have kids, so he needed money for the adoption. Vinnie actually asked me for $20,000, which I got down to $10,000, because he said, oh, I'm gonna get 10 off someone else probably.
He was adopting a child, and he needed $20,000 for adoption fees.
And they were not able to conceive, and he was telling me that, they had to adopt, and if she didn't adopt, she was going to leave him. Well, I said, I understand her feelings, so I loaned him money at the time for the adoption.
I was working the floor. He's like, yeah, the baby that he adopted was in the hospital and needed money immediately.
8 days later, Vinnie calls me up and invites me to Dunkin' Donuts to talk to him about something. He didn't tell me exactly what it was, but he had something planned, and so I went down there and I met him. And he starts telling me about this prank television show, NBC, that he's producer on, and he's telling me that I'd be perfect to be his sidekick in this show, because I'm a good actor, and I'm a good guy, and all these reasons, that he had for me to participate in the show. And at the end of the conversation, he casually asked me to borrow $5,000.
I thought that, since he paid me back the $500, that he was a stand-up guy.
He was looking to open up a club at the Tropicana, and he needed money for liquor license and attorneys and everything else that gets put together in opening up a business.
So about 2 months after the first check got cleared, and I loaned him another $5,000.
The second time Vinnie hit me was when he was paying me back. Then he asked me for another loan for merchandise. He had all new merchandise planned for his show.
Again, we meet at Dunkin' Donuts, a different Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm going there to meet him to get my $5,000 back. And he tells me that these guys from NBC are coming out to see my show. And so I'm starting to think, man, maybe this is real, And then he talks me into loaning him another $7,000. And I did it, And it just so happens that every Dunkin' Donuts has a Wells Fargo right next door. I mean, this was a different Dunkin' Donuts.
Well, now it's like $2,500, and I'm a nice guy and I had the money. I'm thinking he's a friend, okay. He's gonna pay me back.
So then the next day, then he started calling me and he's like, where were you at? Da da da. And I was like, you know what, Vinny, I don't think I can loan you any money. And then that's when he flipped and started threatening, saying you're not gonna work in any of these comedy clubs.
And I would ask him, Vinny, hey, this was supposed to be paid here, a month ago or 6 weeks ago. I need my money back. Come on.
It would now start to extend to a month and a half, 2 months. And when I would ask him about it, he would basically throw crumbs at me. I'd get $2,000 back, $3,000 back, that kind of thing. I'd say within a 2-year period, it amounted to approximately $75,000.
It was just getting out of control. And he was like, this will be the last time, I promise. I'm gonna get you all that money back, and I'm even gonna throw you a little extra for being so patient with me. And I'm like, all right, Benny, I'm please, don't worry, I got you, blah, blah, blah. So Vinny and I went to the ATM. I don't have my glasses. Can you do this for me? Because I can't see. And he was like, okay. And he took out $3,000 instead of $2,000. And I didn't realize it till the next day.
After I had a conversation with Don Marandino, the president of Flamingo, he had to pay me back. So he went to a dealer to pay me.
I began to feel very uneasy about the situation, probably after he was about $80,000 into me. And I really wasn't getting back the money that I had hoped to get back. But he gave me another one of his sob stories, and I loaned him at that time, I think, about $25,000. And I said, Vinny, I said, this is the end of it. If I don't get it back, believe me, I'm going to get a judgment against you. Oh, Mick, you'll get it back. I'm sorry it's gone this long, but you will get it back. And I, once again, believed in him. And
so he invites me over for a swim to his home. And he's got a nice house, man, big doors, a wife that won't look me in the eye, kids running around. And we get out by the pool, we take a swim together, and he's got his cell phone and he's showing me texts from these guys at NBC. And he's saying, oh, they say that you're the glue that holds the whole show together, and they really love your work, and everything's going to work out, everything's going to be beautiful here, And I'm thinking he must have had a second cell phone or an accomplice, or maybe his wife was in the house texting him back and forth, I don't know. I'm packing my bags for a 3-day vacation. I'm going to meet my family, my mom, my dad, everybody up at Lake Tahoe, So I talked to Vinny, and he is going to meet me at Dunkin' Donuts and give me my money. So that way I can put the money back in the bank, I can get on the plane, I can relax and enjoy myself in Lake Tahoe, for 3 days. I mean, I work hard. And instead, I ended up loaning him another $6,300.
The next day, I came to work. He was like, oh, did you get your money? And I said, no, Vinny, I didn't get my money. And he said, well, I'm going to fire that guy. That kid that works for me, I gave him $1,000 to give to you, and he didn't give it to you? And I'm like, no, he didn't.
I just couldn't believe I was so stupid to fall for this. I'm better than this. But I guess I'm not better than this.
6 in the morning and I'm done playing poker, and my head is not right. And he takes advantage of it, and he's like, come bring the money to my house. I said, no, Vinny, I can't. Just meet me down at the bank. He said, okay, all right, I'll meet you there. I'm waiting. And finally, I can't keep my eyes open. And I'll just take a little nap. And So as I'm driving down to his house, you know, it's a really beautiful section of Las Vegas up here in the mountains. All I'm seeing are these like demands, these chop chop, where are you? Hurry up. You got to get here soon. He had his hooks in me. Man, this is really, really stupid. I know this is stupid. I'm smarter than this. Why am I doing this? Why? Why?
Yeah. But he gave me the whole thumbs up.
I felt that if I didn't keep giving him money when he asked me for it, I wasn't going to get any of my money back. And when it got close to the point where my accounts were drained, I was actually fucking relieved that I didn't have anything else to give him. Honestly, I don't know how he got me to do all this shit. I mean, he had me driving around town. At one point, I drove over to his mother's house, and I tossed an envelope with $1,500 over the side fence, according to his direction.
I did see Vinny in the Mirage gambling one day, and I asked him about the money. And he said, I'm gambling right now. I can't talk about that right now. Like a perfect con man that he is.
Every time that I would ask him for my money, he would just turn it around somehow and make it look like I'm the fucking asshole. Towards the end of all of this, Vinny started to play the mob card. You know, he started talking about his mafia friends and how I was gonna get fucked up.
He did play up that Italian mafia guy thing to make you think that he had some kind of clout.
So Vinny asked me to meet Paulie Produce. He was an old guy. He looked like he was an old Italian guy. He had a handler with him, a younger Asian guy who had a twitch, and he acted like he could be like a henchman.
At one point, he texted me and he said, my friends are very upset about this, and what time is your show over? You know, you live on Pyle, right? You know, he was referring to where my residence was, and like, he said, you know, I wish I could be there. Like, he wanted to see me get a beating in the parking lot at the Rio.
He threatened a couple of dealers not to go after them because he knew the mob and their life will be in danger. So they stopped coming. They stopped asking money.
One night, you know, on Dean Martin, I used to go by this fucking big gun store. But for the first time in my life, I thought, you know what? I should buy a gun.
He took me to some strip club with some Boston mobsters to act like he was in with them. But of course, they really think he's an asshole.
He sent me a picture of these guys, man, you know? Really big, ugly motherfuckers, right? Him in the middle of these two guys. And my thought was that I'm gonna come home and my dog is gonna be dead, you know? That's all I had.
The more I think about it now, a real wise guy would have gave him a crack across the face, throwing their name out there, sticking up for him.
Anybody has a connection with mob, they would not say it. They'll just work quietly.
Mob guys are not going to go around saying, yeah, I'm in the mob.
Yeah, he knew the mob because he owed him, and that's a different kind of relationship than knowing. I wasn't falling for his tough guy thing because, first of all, real mob guys, they don't negotiate. As Vinny found out, they'll come get you when they want you.
You and I don't act like this, but this is normal for Vinny because he's juggling too many people. And he has to keep track of the lies that he tells all these different people.
Gambling, it's the most dangerous human vice. Because if you have a drug or alcohol problem, you only can do $500 or $1,000 a night before you pass out or have a heart attack. But with gambling, you can lose everything in a second.
I would actually take change from my mother's purse, go up against these guys. I'd be beating them, so I missed my first bus, second bus, and then I'd be riding with the older kids, and I beat them. I get home, I put my mother's change back, and then the next day I had more money, you know what I mean? But the couples club, the parents had a poker game every Saturday night. I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm sitting on my dad's lap learning how to play poker. That's what people on the West Coast don't understand. We were born around, not to justify anything. We grew up, we played with us kids on the porches, playing with all our coins, poker. It was what we all did.
I think that Vinny's gambling addiction is what fueled this whole thing.
He had a gambling issue, and he played big with Patriots. He played very big in Baccarat, not knowing how the game works.
He had an ego, so he wanted to bet. You know, if I told him Boston was going to lose, he didn't care. He's betting Boston.
Vinny played every and anything. He came to me with a Pai Gow story that, oh, I could beat Pai Gow poker. Of course, I laughed at him. And of course, going into video keno and video games like that, they have 20, 25% hold. Who can beat that? Impossible.
And I did know that Vinny had a gambling problem. In fact, he told me about it. He told me that he really wanted to quit. And I said, well, Vinny, you need to.
He played not only the cards, but I think he played players, you know.
You know, there are salesmen that get off on making that sale. And I think Vinny's the same way. Once he's able to dupe somebody, it's made his day and he moves on to somebody else.
I think he played poker to get new people, because that was his element, because he was great. You sit down and that's like 9 people you're auditioning to later borrow money from. What he would do is he'd sit at the table, he'd be funny, he'd be charming, he'd make friends with you. Then at the end of the show, he'd say, hey, I got free tickets for you to my show. Then you come to the show, you feel like, oh, this guy's my friend, he's likable, he's funny. Then you go to his show, he's crushing. Now he hits you with a business proposition. Hey, you know, I got this new room. I'm gonna, you know, we're moving over. I don't know what his pitch was, but I think he played the poker for that.
I sent multiple friends to see the show. And then I found out a year later, he got one of my friends to put him in the World Series of Poker. And my friend never told me about it. So my friend was out to 10 grand.
Vinny enjoyed poker. He told me he got in the $10,000 buy-in games, and he had somebody that sponsored him, and he said he really enjoys it. And he was kind of braggadocious about how good he was.
After a while, it was no funny. I mean, you knew that he's just doing it to scam people. That's the only reason he had the show. How many people he was gonna scam out of 200 audience, you know? And all Vinny wanted to do, get a new victim every night, every show.
I am sure he remembered the guys in the audience that he asked, hey, what do you do for a living? And if that person said, I'm a business owner with 200 employees, that guy had no chance against Vinny. By him singling out people, it made them someone for the day. It made them someone in Vegas. They got picked on the comedy show. So when they go home, they could tell their friends, I'm friends with Vinny now. But meanwhile, his hooks are getting ready to be inside of you. You're in trouble, brother.
Vinny did use his skills on stage and off stage.
In the end, I wish I would have just paid for my tickets to the show and sat quietly in the back with my friends.
I started talking at the poker table about Vinny, and several of the other players said, oh yeah, we've heard about that. And that's when I met Tiger Patel.
I found out from a friend of mine, Chris Moon, that what happened to him.
And he was actually the one who basically spearheaded the Flamingo group to go after Vinnie Favorito. They were contacting HR because the valet from the Flamingo loaned Vinny $5,000 or $10,000, and the cocktail waitress, Laura Lee.
I'm at work and an employee approached me saying that go talk to Hi, our bar back. Vinny borrowed money, borrowed $20 off of him. So I went and found Hi and I said, Hi, what's going on? Did Vinny owe you money? And he said, yeah. He said, I keep trying to get it from him. He won't pay me back. He says he don't have it. He'll get me tomorrow. And he's running from me. And I said, I'll give you $20 because now I know what I got to do. And that's went to HR and went with the shop steward and told him. I don't think they knew what to do with it. They were just, I just remember them being like shocked.
Laura Lee apparently blew a whistle on Vinnie Favorito, and he got kicked out.
Then there was the Las Vegas Review-Journal article that came out.
I honestly didn't even know about all these people until I read it in the newspaper. Someone at the Flamingo that worked there ratted him out, and he lost his show.
My son saw me. He said, Mom, calm down. He goes, I got a text for you. And he showed me the text. And it said, Vinnie's no longer with us. He's gone. I think it was April. I don't know the exact date, but that was his last show, and it was over with. And I remember my son saying, it's over, Mom. It's over. You won.
I led off a column with this. I say, in the old Vegas, Frank Sinatra, the shoe shine guy, or the cocktail waitress, they had a family emergency. They needed money. Frank Sinatra would pull out a C note and give it to him. In the new Vegas, it's the entertainer that's hitting up the cocktail server for money. I was appalled and fascinated at the same time.
Out of all the millions of dollars he's borrowed from people, it was the $20 loan that got him kicked out the Flamingo.
You know, but when everything really came to a head, all right, not even the 7-star guy. It was great. The president knew about it. I was still working. My biggest mistake was borrowing from someone internally, a waitress, okay? And I guess there's a story about this $20 thing that never happened. I mean, listen, $20, I could shit $20. Are you kidding me?
I got into the seedy part of the story only when Vinnie got kicked out of the Flamingo. And then my phone just started ringing off the desk. It was like everybody was coming forth, especially after the first story I did for the Review-Journal. And you know, I don't stay out till 3 a.m. I don't play poker, so I didn't have any idea any of this was going on.
And the message board that popped up, people posting, oh yeah, Vinnie Favorito scammed me for X amount of dollars. That stuff made my blood boil.
Somebody told me that there was an article in the RJ that I should read about Vinnie Favorito, and I went ahead and looked at it, and at that moment I learned that it wasn't just me, it was a lot of people.
And then when I came to realize how many people were duped by him, it was just mind-boggling.
Poker dealer at the Flamingo, and he happened to loan Vinnie about $8,000 to $12,000. But Vinnie invited him all the time to at his house or a pool party. So Mike went with his father, and he somehow worked with Mike's dad, and he borrowed money from Mike's father without paying Mike, you know.
When I read in the newspaper that he conned old ladies and seniors out of their money, I felt terrible for them. How can Vinnie get up every morning and look himself in the mirror knowing you conned old people out of their money?
He took money, about $60,000, $70,000 from an old lady from Florida. That's what I heard.
The saddest call I got was a neighbor of Vinnie's who was an elderly man who I believe had said he had loaned Vinnie $120,000.
His wife said to me one day, she was out leaning out the window, and I asked if Vinnie was home, and he wasn't. And I told her what was going on. She said, oh, that's all I hear is phone calls, everybody wanting money, money, money. And I said, oh my gosh, there's a lot more than just me. I said, I fell into a pretty deep hole here, unfortunately. The house right there is where Vinnie and Nicole lived. When they moved in there. They were there for a while and moved out. But that's the house. And I'm right across the street from them.
What a bad move-in that was for you, huh?
Turned out to be.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it at first.
You never know with people, huh? You can't read them sometimes.
That's true.
Yeah.
My name's Craig Peck. I've been in film since 1986 when I shot my first commercial for a car insurance company. Basically, what happened is the owner of the studio called me up and says, hey, look, we need to shoot a reality show. So do you have any ideas, and can you find some talent out there to possibly get us a nice show? Well, I gave him a little clip of Vinnie's show that he did over at the Wynn Theater, and he thought the guy was pretty funny, kind of a rash dude, but he thought he was funny, and he thought, yeah, this guy could be a good, interesting subject for it. So what happened is the next step with Vinnie was to shoot the little sizzle reel. So we did a little stand-up out in front of the Wynn Theater, kind of give a sample how he was on screen. He was confident, he was funny. And so the investor says, yeah, that's a great show. Let's do it.
In 2016, I answered an ad on Craigslist for a studio in Vegas that needed content. Yeah, it was me and Vinnie were the main people involved. We were the ones that were making the deal with the studio. We get to the studio to sign the contracts. So Vinnie says, I gotta step outside and have a cigarette.
We were going to provide the production company and the camera and the crew. Vinnie was going to write some episodes for us, and we were all going to do it on spec. That's how the deal went through. Then we sat down in a meeting, and Vinnie slammed us with $15,000 fee to write 6 episodes.
So when he comes back from a cigarette break, he asked the owner of the studio for another $15,000, or else he's not going to do the show. And the Harvard-educated guy who's a businessman says, all right, he knew who he was dealing with, but he was going to give him the 15 grand, you know? We go out, we have a celebratory dinner. During dinner, Vinnie has the audacity to call this guy a fucking asshole.
During dinner, he did call one of the investors a fucking idiot, and I didn't think that went over too well. But after dinner, when we were walking out to the car, he made a remark that it went 2 ways. It could have either not been heard and went smooth, or it could have been heard and it just killed the entire deal. But what he said was, I knew we'd get these guys money.
That's the best. Oh, man.
I knew it was gonna go rough after that, especially if the investors heard it, which apparently they did, because the next morning I got a phone call pulling the plug on the whole deal. They just didn't feel confident about it anymore.
I was crushed. I mean, I was like literally like, this was like my last hope at anything ever coming of like my writing and directing career. And it was like a bottom rung project as it was. But to lose it's kind of like the guy at the El Cortez who loses his last 25 cents on the craps table. That's what this project was to me.
Las Vegas is basically run by 2 big companies now, and between them, they own most of the big places on the Strip. So Vinnie had to go shopping to this little place called the Tommy Wynn Theater.
This theater is like the bottom rung of the Strip. It's technically on the Strip, but to go from where he was at to here, it's like, I would sum it up as like your relationship with Vinnie. It starts up here, and then it ends up at a place like this, and you're waiting outside hoping to get your money back, and you're never gonna get it because he doesn't have it. So, I mean, he had a big marquee on the Strip, dead center of the Flamingo. So to come to this place, which I don't even know now is like a parking lot for a Korean barbecue or something.
Let's just say that on the show business ladder of Las Vegas, the Tommy Wynn Theater is the bottom rung.
So I did the Tommy Wynn Theater for a year. Then all of a sudden, I just decided to walk into Hooters one day, and I go to the president at the time, and I said I'd like to see, and thinking they're gonna tell me you don't have a meeting or whatever, the secretary tells me, and this guy comes right out, he goes, come in my office. I can't believe you're here. He says, oh my God. And he was like a fan. And I said, I want to tell you my whole story. And he goes, I know you, I want to tell it. I told the story. And he goes, okay, can't be any more honest than that. And he says, let's put a deal together. We put a deal together, and I was doing shows there and actually doing great at Hooters.
Now, I really thought the Tommy Wynn Theater was kind of the last stop before you leave town, but amazingly enough, Vinnie worked himself another maybe half step on the ladder to Hooters Casino. But Vinnie wasn't at Hooters very long, so I don't know, maybe everybody can behave for a month or two.
And I'm just about to sign with them, and I get another phone call.
And she says, Vinny, did you sign with Hooters yet? And I go, no, I'm about to. She goes, before you do, you have to take this meeting. I go to the meeting. They take me over to the Westgate, like in the movie when they take a college recruit, a high school recruit, and they want to get him in the college. They put him in the middle of the stadium. And they play the music and all this. So they did that with me at the Westgate. And they made me an offer while I was standing on the stage.
And then, amazingly, Vinny got in at the Westgate, which all us locals call the Las Vegas Hilton, which is famous because that's where Elvis played.
The Westgate was a bad property for him. Conventioneers, people going in and out. It wasn't the right kind of... He needs strip entertainment. He needs party people around him. He needs happy-go-lucky party people, not conventioneers that are there for business and are pretty stiff. I went to a couple of those shows at the Westgate. I was actually embarrassed for him. There was 15 people in some of the shows. I was like, wow, what happened here? Going from the Strip to the Westgate was like me going from the Bellagio buffet to Jerry's Nugget buffet.
The other thing about the Westgate was that Vinny was working for these two guys that called themselves Red Mercury Entertainment. And these guys had the idea, let's file bankruptcy and wipe out all of Vinny's debts and give him a fresh start. Well, the people that were on line to get paid back, they were kind of left out in the lurch. But if you're the show producer, that's pretty brilliant.
I first got involved with the case against Vinnie Favorito on behalf of my client. My client is Ed Bernstein.
One of the most important steps in a personal injury case is a fast, thorough investigation of the facts. Right from my desk, we can send a team of our staff investigators to the scene of an accident to investigate and photograph it.
No one was safe from Vinny, not even the iconic Las Vegas ambulance chaser Ed Bernstein.
I'm a judgment enforcement attorney. He came to me after he already was awarded the judgment and said, I need to enforce this judgment against an entertainer. I soon found out I had what's called a popular judgment debtor. And by popular, I mean there are other creditors with judgments also going for that same limited pie. Only one can get that asset that's out there that's attachable. So I knew that everyone's going to be looking. Everyone knows where Favorito is. Everyone's going to be going after him to get his money. I had to move very quickly to find out where his assets were. We then served a writ of garnishment on Volkner Productions, telling them, hey, Volkner Productions, whatever you're paying our judgment debtor, Vinnie Favorito, now paid to us for my client. Then we got notice that Vinnie Favorito on September 7, 2016, filed a Chapter 7.
Well, we can do two things. We can get everybody that you owe money to in a room, and we can offer them a percentage, or you can do a bankruptcy. They hate you anyhow, and you move on with your life.
Now, at this point, Vinny had a list of maybe 60 creditors and more than $1 million in debts that he owned up to. And the bankruptcy apparently wiped that out to where he didn't owe anybody money anymore.
Vinny's final balance with me wound up being about 11 grand. And when I finally came to him and said, hey, Vin, enough's enough here. When are you going to start paying this back again? And then, when I said to him, hey, when are you going to start paying this back? He brought up some banker. Oh, you didn't hear? I said, Vin, how can you put street money, not that I was a loan shark, but how can you put street money in a bankruptcy?
Believe it or not, I had been to bankruptcy court to cover other entertainers. It happens. But this one, just the nature of it, the fact that he had borrowed money from players and customers and cocktail waitresses. In all my career at the Review Journal, nothing like that had ever come up.
I received a notice of Vinny's bankruptcy hearing. All of his creditors did. I was the only one that actually showed up. I see him walk in with his lawyers, and I say, oh, good morning, scumbag. He takes offense to that. The bailiff comes up to me and says, sir, you need to show courtroom decorum. And I'm like, do you realize this guy is an insult comic? Come on. He's offended by scumbag? We get inside, and it's just a charade. IRS agents are asking him questions, and he's making jokes. He's got all this debt. How can somebody be able to just wipe that away?
When somebody files bankruptcy, everything stops. You can't even talk to a judgment debtor after they file bankruptcy. So when he filed bankruptcy, our case stopped. And then once a judgment debtor gets his discharge in bankruptcy, then everything is over. And for the price of the filing fee, whatever debts they have that are dischargeable, no matter how much they are, they go away. The filing fee could be $2,300, and for that $2,300, all your debts go into the wind. I once heard a foreign bankruptcy judge from a foreign country once say, he said, in foreign countries, bankruptcy is punishment for the debtor. In the United States, it's punishment for the creditor.
The bankruptcy filing took care of the check garnishments, took care of the official debt that he owed, but somehow the air just seemed to go out of the bag at the Westgate. If there was a chance to get a new start and reboot yourself after you've burned the two major corporations in town, Vinnie seemed like he was maybe pulling it off in the small little room at the Westgate. But as it turned out, it all kind of ended with a whimper instead of a bang. He just kind of left.
I wanted to leave the demons behind. I'd worked here so many years. I made so many people laugh. I did so many shows, more shows than you can imagine. And I was done. So I went to Darren and he said his exact words, I have a lot invested in you, but I respect what you're doing. I respect your decision. And that was it. I finished up till December of 2017 and I went home. I was not fired from the Westgate. They loved me at the Westgate. I went to my boss and resigned. And that's the story.
Vinnie's only been back to Las Vegas once since he left the Westgate, and that's when we caught up with him. Somehow he made room in his busy schedule of renting out the back of Chinese restaurants to fly in and do this late night free show for locals. Dirty at 12:30. The showcase at the South Point Casino. It was founded by the late Ralphie May, one of the comics Vinnie beat in the San Francisco comedy competition, and the one who turned out to be the most famous of the bunch.
Well, listen, I got to tell you something. I don't know when I'll be back again, but I'm going to end the show like this. You guys are always the best crowd. Gabe always puts on the best show. The best acts come on the stage. I thank you for listening to me. I always love being with you. I'm Vinnie Favorito. Have a good night. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're trying to sell this.
No, I'm not. 1,000,000%.
Okay.
This is valuable intellectual
Okay.
property. I understand the value of it.
Okay.
And it's not going to be used like that. Right?
Okay, good.
This is.
Even if it doesn't sell, you don't put it on YouTube. You know what I mean?
No, it cheapens it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
You got
Okay.
close, little insert.
Taking your word on that.
And that's good. Yeah.
Okay, we have a roll. We confirmed on all three.
Go on first here, Brian.
At first, Vinnie didn't take my project seriously, and then he was pretty sure nothing would come of it. Based on my track record and what he knew about me, the odds were probably on his side for a change. But finally, he found out how much we had filmed and how many people I'd talked to. He realized it behooved him to tell his side of the story.
And I'm not trying to make an excuse, it's true. When I got to the level of gambling I was doing, it was because I had the IRS on my back. I had a manager not only taking 50% of what I made, but I find out later more. And I can't get any control of the money because his sister's doing the books. And now I'm borrowing money because I'm scared of the IRS. I'm trying to come up with answers. And it became a thing. I borrow $2,000 from you. I lose it. Now I borrow $5,000 from someone else. Mentality is, I win back the $2,000, pay him. Now I'm clean again to go on the board. But when you're, trying to chase the money and make that easy shortcut, everything goes south, and you don't realize how deep you get. I'm actually a pretty good poker player. I didn't have time for poker. Now I'm so behind with people. And you're trying to keep track of your own stories. I don't have time. I got to play the carnival game that you can hit a jackpot hand on. But I'd be in one place. Now, listen, the casino I worked for knew I was playing. They knew I was playing. My picture's on the felt and on the table next to me. They know that I'm playing. But in the course of the night, I don't want to be seen by everybody. I want to go to this place or that place. Just kind of sneak in, hopefully make a score. But the dream never came. Like I wanted to pay everybody back, but you get deeper and deeper and deeper. It's like a drug, and you're lying. You're lying all the time.
If Vinny ended up in a shallow grave, it would be an ending. It would be a happy ending. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way.
Listen, when it came to me and how I got money, I didn't go one night to 50 people and, hey, give me this, give me that, give me this. Can you help me? Can you help me? Every time it was one person, and I get that, whether it was $1,000 to $15,000, and it was always okay. Like, I'm gonna pay the bills, the house bills, and now I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna make this work, and I'm not only gonna get this back. Again, that mentality. I'm gonna get this back.
He had every opportunity in the world to straighten himself out with the family and the child and work. Something just didn't work, but I don't know what it was that caused it for sure.
He knew what he was doing. He's very calculated. He's a very smart person. He's just an awful person. If he put all his focus into comedy, because he could be a very successful comedian. That's a great room he had.
I was so good at getting money. I could have been the best fundraiser in the world. That's how good I was. Just like on stage, I had the gift of gab, and I used it in any way I could. I knew what people wanted to hear. Boom. I golfed with a guy one day. They paired him up with us. One day. Comes to my show the next night. 2 days later, he gives me $15,000. Bottom line is, nothing can separate that we're brothers, that I love you. Yeah, you fucked up. You hurt me. But now it's 2 years later, and I'm ready for this. All you had to do was come to me, and I would have said, in time, we'll do it. And when I was ready to tell my story, which is now, was my choice, was my time. I used to say, when people say, oh, you gambled? I go, oh, I was great at gambling. I just kept running out of chips. But you get so deep and so deep and so deep, and you're fooling yourself. You're lying to yourself. You know what I mean?
It's the slipperyest slope.
And I'm the biggest piece of shit in the world for what I did. I'm very open and honest about my story, and I've always been very open and honest with you. And you've already, because we lived it. We could go to each other and go, holy fuck. You told me one time about a marker. I can't pay it and this and that, and they're looking for me. I never had a marker. I didn't need it. I had friends. I had a gift of gab. But in some form or fashion, you've been there. But we always talked to each other. We didn't put it out there for everybody else. But that's the difference. You did. You put it out there to everybody. It was a known story, but you dug it up again. And I was like, why is he hurting me? But I realized
it was greed.
That's right. I realized
it was greed.
It was the buck. I don't care what it is. I'll always be looked at as, the game, or don't lend Vinny money, or don't do that. You can't escape that. You know what I mean? And people in your circle who you might have gone to know the same thing. But you know why your story isn't so public? Because you weren't a celebrity in Las Vegas.
Anyway, man, give me a hug, bro.
Love you, bro.
All right.
All right?
That's it.
Cut.
All right, cool.
It was good.
Yeah, that was good.
That was really good.
Yeah, that was. Watching this now, I'm asking myself the same thing you're probably asking. Why the hell did I give him a hug? Well, I've had some time to think about it, and the answer is he made me feel guilty. I felt bad, like I had betrayed him. And that's the real art of a con man. He makes you feel bad for him. An average con man may get you one time before you wise up, assuming you have a decent IQ. But that's one of Vinny's greatest qualities, that he can get you over and over. His other great quality? He's funny. But to make a big comeback, that's going to be where he needs a puncher's chance again. Insult comedy may be dead soon. Lisa Lampanelli was Vinny's only competition to be the new Don Rickles, but she walked away from stand-up altogether. Young comics don't even want to get in line. Vinny may end up being the last of the breed.
I think Vinny has burned all his bridges in Vegas, but for the sake of his victims, a part of me wants him to do well, but just not here. I don't want to have to see him again.
I'm not weak, and I told you I was going to get you. I'm getting you.
if it takes me the rest of my life for the $12,000 or whatever it is that you owe me, because you know how much you owe me, or you're gonna pay somehow.
It's hard. It can be very hard to keep friendships long term. I haven't been beaten down to a point where is it time for me to leave.
When you scam like this, you break people's spirit. You can bring somebody's entire life in a tailspin.
I lost my home. I live in this home now, which is just got sold about 2 weeks ago. And my daughter and I, my 16-year-old daughter, and I have to move again. I got behind in bills. My daughter was very sick in ICU. It's made me really look at people in a different light now. People at the Flamingo, people on the street, people in general. Like you could be working with somebody for a decade and not know who you're not know them at all and what they're capable of.
8 months later, I'm selling my house. I find an apartment in Los Angeles. I figure I'm gonna try myself in LA, as an actor. And the phone rings, and it's Vinnie, and he's at Dunkin' Donuts, and he wants to borrow $20 because he's out of gas. As an actor, I think to myself, you know what? I'm gonna take one last look at this prick, Why not? That's what we do, we study people. So I go over to Dunkin' Donuts, and he starts crying. I mean, he literally starts crying with the tears coming down his face. And he's talking about his family and how he's gonna lose his family and all this shit. And he tells me he's gonna do a Robin Williams. We know what that means. He gets out of the car at Dunkin' Donuts. I gave him the $20. And that was it.
Anything I could say to get $1, I would do it, because I was so far behind, and then you start blocking it out because you don't want to think about it. You know what I mean? You're inside, you're miserable. And people think, how can you go up and tell jokes when you did all this? I was miserable inside, miserable. And people don't understand that. But how many people out there have a credit card that they couldn't pay years ago or now? It's kind of the same thing. You're borrowing money. Hey, I'm going to buy this stuff. You don't have the money to pay it, and later on, you're going to end up trying to get out of the card or whatever. It's just another form of borrowing money and not paying it back. I'm looked down. I'm in the spotlight because I was a comedian on the Las Vegas Strip.
The rush that you get must be crippling. You bet on a coin that's flipping. You're blowing through stacks like it's crack. Every nickel they gave you, you gambled it back. You could be a poster boy, a creep to the 10th degree. Here's a flash, no more cash. Don't put your Jones on me. Don't put your Jones on me. Don't put your Jones on me.
Nothing but pleasant to me. Never try to borrow money from me.
Gotcha.
No,
Gotcha.
No, I have nothing bad
What's
to say.
your policy on loaning money, by the way?
Loaning money?
Yeah.
Why, you need money to finish your stupid documentary? You're not getting it.
Huh?
You need money for your dumb documentary. You're not getting it. Fuck yourself. Now why are you here?
Man, you don't even know how to play. You never had for the K. Crying and begging to a friend like me, like Frank Lopez on bended knee. The mummy got more charms than you. You swear on the eyes of your mama till you're through. Motherfucker swears on the souls of his kids. Oh, do that shit.
Don't put your Jones on me. Don't put your Jones on me.
Don't put your motherfucking Jones on me.
This is in my opinion, the top 100 funniest jokes of all time. And is, you know, my job was telling jokes, old jokes, and so this is it. Just an example here would be, I don't know, give me a number.
43.
43. No, I can't do that one.
42.